Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe. My name's Ed Mann, and today we are joined by a semi-drunk, I want to say, at the moment, maybe tipsy Fraser Hart.
I'd go with tipsy because it sounds a bit more classy. But yeah, I've had a couple of beers, and I've got a fried chicken meal in front of me as well. But yeah, how are you, Ed?
I'm very good, thank you, sir. And today we're joined by, and I should have asked for your how to say your surname, but off air. I'm really sorry, Jordi Boggiano.
That's pretty good, man.
Is that all right? Is that okay?
Yeah, because we had a little debate before we came on air. Like, do we say it in an Italian way, so like Boggiano or something like that? But I probably butchered it.
Don't insist too much on the Italian, probably with the English accent. It's
Boggiano. Yeah, for the audience, this is going to be released like in a couple of weeks, but it is a Friday at 8 o'clock at night, and somehow I've been able to get these two on. So, and yeah, Jordi, again, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, I know you've had like a bit of a stressful day. Or well, not stressful, more just exhausting day, hacking and stuff like that and code. So yeah, I mean, like, Fraser, how's your week been, man?
It's been a really good week, actually. Yeah, it's been good. I've been spending a lot of time working with Grunt, actually.
Cool.
We do a lot of projects, like a lot of single page applications in Backbone, and I kind of came into the company when everything was already in place. So everything that I've been working on has been kind of maintaining rather than starting from scratch. But there was one single page app that we hadn't actually converted into Grunt. It was still using Ant for its build.
Oh, I love XML.
So it's not very nice. So I basically started off on Grunt, got the whole build and everything done. So we when we release something, it goes through Jenkins, so it creates a build. So all the kind of the Grunt commands are executed through Jenkins. So we get a build file that we can then deploy to a server after that. So I've basically been converting our final single page application in Grunt. Really, really good. A little bit frustrating because I've made some stupid errors along the way. Because when we've got obviously lots and lots of JavaScript files, lots of CSS files, and then when we do the build process, we go through and we concatenate and we minify. And then we replace the references to all the different CSS files and all the different JavaScript files to the minified CSS and the minified JavaScript, as you do. And I was sitting there for about an hour today. I made the biggest, schoolboy error. And I was sitting there scratching my head, because I did the minification and I tried to run the build, and then the build wasn't running. I was like, why is it not running? Went in the console, and it was giving me an error in the console saying, unexpected identifier, and it was giving me a full stop. And I'm like, why is it doing that on a CSS file? It's just absolutely... So basically, I scratched my head for about an hour on this, and it turned out that where I'd copied and pasted the reference to swap the JavaScript and into the CSS, I was basically trying to refer to the CSS as a JavaScript file, and basically I made the stupid error of doing that.
You've become a front-end JavaScript guy now, you know? Everything's done through JavaScript, you know?
But it was such a simple... I was like, why... And... Yeah, I did lots of Google searches, why is it flagging up errors in console over CSS? It shouldn't be doing that. It should just not work. It shouldn't be telling me errors. And then I even typed in the error, and then there was a Stack Overflow post that had about 120 upvotes on the answer, where someone else had done the same, and obviously everyone else had come to the same post with the same question. And lots of other people do that. So I'm not alone. But
it's not alone, exactly.
Yeah. But it's been good apart from that.
So what do you use for your do you use Browserify? Because I use, at the moment at work, we're using Webpack, which is just mind-blowing.
Oh, Webpack is the new one, isn't it? The new one. Because we're still using Grunt, and obviously
Grunt, you can use Grunt with it. It just it kind of deals with the fact of it's really kind of solves one problem, but solves it well, which is putting things into modules and looking at dependencies and splitting these out. And finding similarities between bits of code, and then being able to extract those out. And it's great because it can use CommonJS, AMD, and also the new ES6, which is finally become, isn't it? We've got ES 2015 now, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's and get their module support.
It's out now. We got WebAssembly. What's that about? I think it was sometime last week, but we also got WebAssembly. Did you hear about that? This kind of. So it's really strange. It's kind of instead of Java, so you've got JavaScript obviously, but now we're also going to have this lower level kind of language that you're able to. I don't know whether you can actually do it similar to how you can do C, where you can like drop into assembly kind of thing, or it has to be its own files. But then you're going to be able to actually like pretty much do proper hardcore hitting the actual hardware. So things that need to do that can do that. Jordi, you said, have you been looking into, because I know you use things like Backbone and stuff. I know I read on your bio that you're into that stuff.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked into it a lot, but I think it will open up some pretty nice use cases for like encryption and things like this, which need a lot of number crunching power.
Absolutely,
right now doing this in the browser is just nuts.
It is. I mean, it's amazing how much with like ASM, JS and stuff, they've been able to get out of just using JavaScript. It is amazing, and this is really what they need. So it should be quite cool, but everyone's just going crazy, and then like obviously this whole thing of like, oh, it's the bytecode for the web, it's running it everywhere, and then people are like, oh, bytecode didn't work for Java, and stuff like this and jokes, but we shall see. I mean, we can only see, but Jordi, how's your week going, man? Like, what you been up to this week?
I'm not sure anymore, to be honest.
But you were saying earlier before we came on that you were up since 5 or working since 5 or 4.
Yeah. I mean, last night I had a long night. I was trying to debug some stuff on a server, and like
1 hour turns into the whole day.
Yeah, went down the rabbit hole, and but I mean, I have I don't really have a fixed job, so I end up like working most of the time, but like a mix of open source and then sometimes job and sometimes this. Like it's a bit messy. So
do you like that? Do you prefer? Because I mean, I kind of like the 9 to 5-ish sometimes, but then you kind of crave like, oh, it'd be great if I can work when I can't want to work. I don't know. How do you like? Are you quite? Because I suppose you love programming as well, so it's hard.
Yeah, I like it, but it's sometimes it's like now if I try to think what I did this week, I actually have no clue. Like I'm just it's all a big blur because you kind of don't have this clear definition between work and the rest, and like it's.
And what is your work? Because obviously you do a lot of open source stuff. And what do you do for work? Do you do freelancing, or do you have a company that you work for, or do you own a company, or?
So I like legal company that does freelancing, kind of like contracting stuff. But at the moment I'm mostly working for one project, which is teamup.com, and it's like an online calendar, and I've been doing that for like, I don't know, 6 months now, 7, 8.
Are you enjoying it? Are there a lot of hard challenges that you get your teeth into?
It's quite fun. Like it's a cool team, it's like small startup feel, so that's quite nice. And like we ported everything to Symfony and it's looking good.
What was it in originally?
It was the Zen Framework 1 project, because like it's been started a few years ago and like kind of chugging along slowly, and then they went a bit more like full speed and like decided to invest a bit more in it. Yeah, when I joined, I was like, okay, this is a bit like the whole Zen Framework 1. Like I guess the Framework 2, you could it's fine. It's just not what I'm used to, but it's fine. But the 1 is quite aging at this point. So.
And where are you based at the moment? Because you're from Belgium originally, is that correct?
Yeah. Then I was in Switzerland for like 7 years, and now I'm mostly in London at the moment.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Whereabouts in London?
Yeah. Near Hammersmith, but we're gonna move. So
out west.
out west in London.
Out west. I know.
You two
I know that because I went to a pub in Hammersmith a few weeks ago, and it took me ages to ride my bike there.
And then you rode your bike back, while after having it, And how wobbly was that? I guess.
Oh, it was good fun though, but it was like way cheaper than an Uber, so it was fine.
Oh man, oh brilliant! Yeah, how are you enjoying living in London now, Jordi?
It's good. Yeah, it's fun. Like, it's quite different, I guess. Like between Zurich, which is like pretty small town. I mean, here is quite huge, so. It's like twice the population of Switzerland in one city, so. So yeah, I mean it's definitely cool, but because I travel quite a bit as well to conferences, and so when I'm here, I tend to like stay home and chill.
That's it, yeah. Try and get your bearings and go and actually get on with some work and stuff. Because I mean, that's the thing. Like with your schedule, like going to all these conferences, how do you find time to get on with work and Is it just whenever you can? Like I'm on the on the airplane. I can get on with some work now.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's the bad side of flexibility, I would say, is that you end up kind of working non-stop in a way. I mean, it's obviously I have some free time as well, but I mean, if you consider conferences, obviously they're not exactly work for me. I mean, I don't get paid for that, and I do it for fun mostly. So it's kind of fun time, but it's
also balanced.
I've got to get on with work. Time, so yeah,
because it's not only doing the conference, it's getting there and everything like that, and it's those times. And like, how, I suppose the thing is obviously we've kind of like, gone full steam ahead, like talking about what you're doing now, but going back, like, how did you get into programming? Like, what started you? Like,
yeah, so that's interesting because I actually wrote that on Monday morning, I think. I published this blog post, last week was this
I was just about,
year.
I was just about to say I read that and it was a really good read.
And so I mean, it took me a week to actually get to it, but I wanted to do it because I think it's a fun idea, like to kind of look back at like when we started, and like there's a bunch of us that have been doing this for quite a while now. We're all turning into old farts, so it's good to write it down before you forget, right? But so no, anyway, like what I didn't touch on much in the blog post because I focused it more on PHP was how I got really started with, like, could call it programming, was writing those MIRC scripts.
Oh, so, yes, I remember those.
That's like when I got internet, I guess I was 14 or something, and yeah, that's kind of the first thing I ended up doing. Was joining IRC and then spending way too much time on that.
Your whole life just became, exactly.
Yeah, like a long dial-up session that cost you like per minute some absurd amount.
Sorry, Mom, sorry.
But so yeah, I started playing with that, and I mean, in retrospect, if you look at it now, it's not quite programming. Like it's not very advanced, but like writing bots and stuff like that would just answer people and just some nonsense like that. That was kind of the first things I did.
And were they like for fun, that those bots, or were they really like solve a problem you were having? Like, did they like were they just for you to experiment? They were just for fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It was mostly like, shouting insults at people.
That's it. Yeah. Exactly. I was thinking they're probably,
Come on, it's like a bunch of teenagers. No, it was fun, but after that, I got into PHP and Flash a bit as well, and then JavaScript, and that's all I ever did really was programming. Like I played a bit with other languages just for fun, but like serious development, it's mostly been just like PHP, JavaScript.
So that's got. And how did you find like PHP then? Was that just the first? Because were you looking at making like moving on from like MRC bots and stuff to I want to then kind of like start making dynamic pages, etc. And
yeah, I mean, I was doing web stuff, like just playing HTML and some Flash animations and some such, but yeah, eventually I wanted to do some more dynamic stuff, and I had a friend that was doing it a bit, so, he showed me the ropes, and like, I remember having this, I mean, that's just one thing that made me laugh, because I realized like how many projects I built with this was, this one file that did the MySQL connect and the MySQL select DB, and I, like, for years I didn't really understand what was going on in there, and I didn't care. It was just like, okay, I have this file, and
it's a black box.
Works. So I just copy it in the new project, include it, and done, and it just works. And that's how development was done back then, I guess. But
it's changed a little bit now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You're saying like because you moved to Switzerland then? What was that then for? Was that for your career, or was it mainly just to kind of like do some exploring?
Yeah, some exploring and girlfriend and stuff.
Yep.
Met a girl and so on. So yeah, that was like during my studies still, and
So what did you study then? Was that computer science, or was that another kind of different?
No, not quite. Otherwise, I would have done like some serious Java, right?
Yep, there you go. Yeah, you would have been tainted with, you know.
No, and I was more like multimedia in a cinema school actually. So it was
cool.
A whole lot of movie editing and 3D, 2D, like modeling and animation and stuff like that.
Did you think about maybe becoming then like a movie editor and video editing before going into programming, or was it just because you enjoyed it from a young age, you thought I might as well just do that as like a...
Well, I was a bit into 3D stuff as well, like before starting it. So that was something that interested me, but they did like a mix of this and so web tech, but like, you know, more like Photoshop and like Flash and like a bit of PHP and HTML, but like fairly basic. So it seemed interesting, but by the end of it, I was just like, yeah, no.
I've had enough of this. This is not for me.
No, I mean, it's fun. I really enjoy it, and I quite regret not having more time for the whole 3D stuff and all of that. It's quite fun, but it's just the industry is fucked, I think. It's, I mean, most of the people I knew still went into it. Like in my class, they mostly went into the whole movie industry, but it's really tough. Like,
I was thinking it must be such a hard... You really make it or you don't, and there's a lot more people that don't make it. You're the lucky ones you hear about, and
exactly.
Not. And it must be tough because, I mean, getting that first break.
Well, in the directing stuff, it's more like that, but then in the whole like editing and special effects, there's more work, but it's very much like centralized in a few places. You have like in Canada, there's a big hub. London, there's quite a bit as well going on. But then, yeah, like if you graduate in Belgium, forget it. Like either you work on advertisements, like small projects, or if you want to do anything serious, you have to move. So
you thought, I can't, you want to do something different. And then that's when programming came in and...
Well, yeah, I mean, I had been doing a lot of programming anyway, and so I got stuck into it more, and then I got a job and got stuck in the whole
so 10 years down the line, and you're still doing it.
Exactly.
And like, so how did you get then into the open source world? Because like throughout this then, so you've got a job and stuff like that, and did you do a lot of tinkering on the side, a lot of experimenting with PHP?
I think PHP has always been quite a bit of open, like, you know, everything pretty much is open source, right? Like
the languages, so everything is,
Well, the languages and all the libraries, the frameworks, everything. Like you have really a couple of things that might be like proprietary stuff that are like encrypted and stuff, but otherwise you have the sources, and so I guess it's part of the community. So I don't know, like I remember having this one step where I thought like, oh, okay, there's this open source thing. Like it
just kind of happened. You kind of just got into
it. Yeah,
do you remember
slowly...
Because this was obviously probably before GitHub time. Like,
yeah.
How did you release? Like, what were you releasing on? Like, Subversion, SourceForge, stuff like that, maybe? Or
no, I had my own SVN server. I think I was using Assembler as well for a while, and then I never got into SourceForge. I think, or like not much.
Yeah, you don't want to get into SourceForge anymore. They've just turned into like the devil.
Definitely.
It's like, I mean, I don't know what happened there. And then they're like distributing like GIMP with these, you know,
with like malware and stuff.
Yeah. It's just like, what the frick, man? It's like insane. So everyone's just getting the hell out of there as soon as possible. It's just ridiculous. And then because one of the things you're involved in is Symfony. And Symfony2.
Yeah.
So how did you get into, because I'm guessing, like, I suppose not throughout your whole kind of like PHP career, but maybe probably a lot of it was web framework based, or was it very much like at the beginning just index.php pages and an about.php page and, you know, a bunch of includes and...
Yeah, no, I guess since I've been doing this like professionally, it's been mostly framework or CMS style stuff. And some of it was, you know, in-house framework, but still, there was something in place and like classes and so on. So I actually, I never really used Symfony 1, but the company I was working at back at the time was Leap, and I don't remember the details of why exactly this happened, but so we had this internal framework that we were reworking, and at some point, I think, so Fabien, the lead dev on Symfony, came to Zurich to give a talk. Then they discussed a bit, and he ended up like giving us some of the early stuff he was working on for Symfony2 that wasn't public at the time, which was like mainly the dependency injection container.
Yep.
And a couple other things. And so we worked that into our framework, and we gave a talk about it together, like me and Lucas Smith. So we gave a talk at the Symfony Live 2010, I think, which is also where Fabien announced the Symfony2 release, and wasn't released, but he opened up the repos he had and
showed it to the world. The Steve Jobs opening.
Exactly, the big unveiling there.
And one more thing.
Yeah, and so since I was there, like kind of by accident in a way, but I really like this idea of having a new framework that was like all new,
and using the latest best practices. And could you see that from the beginning? There, when you looked at the source, you just knew that this was something you were going to want to use. Like it was completely different to what was out there already. Because I suppose it was Code Igniter and things like that at the time. And
exactly right, like you had all the usual suspects, and they were working new versions, but it was always incremental. And it was like, okay, let's add these new features and so on, but there was no big change in the way we did things. So that was kind of boring.
And this completely changed it for you.
Yeah, that's really what got me excited. Was the clean slate.
And then with it though, so how? I mean, like it's very strict. So why did he actually open it up to you guys then? Were you friends with him? Was the company friends with him before, or was it he knew about your company? Or was those details kind of
like? I wasn't there exactly when it happened, so I'm not sure of the details. But
was it like a Mission Impossible, like stealing the source code type cool thing?
No,
Tom Cruise comes down.
No, I know he gave a talk internally in the company, and then they discussed, and I'm not sure why, to be honest. I think it was Lucas kind of trying to talk to communities and like slowly change the way we were doing things inside the company, like using less of the in-house framework maybe, and
making it more open.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's really cool, man. Because obviously then you got. I mean, was that when you started contributing to the core of Symfony2? Because on your page, because obviously you had like from first-hand experience. You probably when it was first released, you knew it inside and out, whereas other people kind of never seen it before.
I mean, the whole bundle stuff was new. Like we didn't see that. But at least we were used to the concept of DI, which most people back then were like
not in the PHP world.
Yeah. So yeah, we had been doing that with Lucas for a few months. Like we were refactoring the entire framework. So yeah, we kind of were familiar with some of the stuff. But
and what type of things have you contributed to the core? Has it been big functionality, or has it been kind of like kind of the internals?
That's a long time ago. Many commits ago. I didn't really work on like one specific thing. It was more like stuff here and there.
Obviously, Composer is your big claim to fame. So how did that come about? yeah, that was always like
totally
internet
famous right there.
Yeah. So what brought that about, and what was the kind of the motivation behind making Composer? And
so that was also like sort of Symfony related in a way.
Because Symfony2 did come out with Composer by default. Was it? It was initially the release was.
It wasn't in 2.0. It came in 2.1. So in 2.0 we still had this deps file, which was like a shell script essentially with a bunch of Git clones. And that was like, that didn't scale very much.
It feels like the dark ages now, doesn't it? How crazy is that?
Yeah, I mean, it worked until we started having like more and more dependencies and like, things depending on that and this specific version of that and so on. And then like the instructions to install bundles were getting more and more complicated. And like I would say right before, I think the 2.0 was released on June, July, 2011, I think. And we started on Composer a few months before that.
So Composer was actually specifically designed as a component for Symfony. Then is that correct, or?
Well, so for me it was mostly that.
Yeah.
And the other guy that started it was like Nils Adam. He was coming more from the PHP BB side because he's the lead dev on PHP BB, and they need a plugin installer. I think they still do. So I'm not sure if it panned out very well. I mean, they have a bunch of stuff they worked on since then, and they did lots of progress. But I'm not sure what the status is with the plugins. But anyway, like we had those two communities that needed something, and so instead of working on
in a silo on your own,
solutions like you had with WordPress plugin installers and whatnot. Yeah, we just worked on that, and like for Symfony at least, it made sense to support everything because it had dependencies on Doctrine and Monolog and Aesthetic and so on. So we needed like generic support for stuff, not just plugins. So yeah, that's how it came to be mostly, I guess.
And did you I mean, the initial idea of Composer, was that something that so it was a problem you were trying to solve, but did you kind of spec out on a whiteboard like this is what I wanted to do initially, or was it really kind of like just hacking on code at the weekend or during the week and being like, I want to do this kind of thing?
Well, so I mean, there were already, it's not like we invented something amazing. It's
because I mean it's very similar to like it's solving the problem in the PHP world that you have like npm4 and gem4
exactly.
and pip4 and
tons of previous art there. So yeah, we took a lot of inspiration from Bundler and npm and kind of looked what do you need to support to make it into a good thing. Then obviously, like, I guess we have some sort of unique features as well by now, but it's
that's kind of it, like, because I suppose it came from humble beginnings and now it's become so big. And it was, as Fraser was saying, like, that's your claim to fame, which you kind of shrug off and into. Did you think it would become so big, or did you think it was going to solve this problem and it was just going to stay in the PHP BB world and the Symfony2 world?
Yeah, I didn't really think of it. I mean, I was mostly interested in like the Symfony aspects, I guess, at first, and then I don't know, it was just a fun project to work on.
Well, that's it. It was a hard, fun project to work on, isn't it? That's exactly how it starts. Yeah.
I didn't really anticipate or care much actually for what happened, I guess. But the thing is, yeah, it's as soon as people started using it, they started nagging other people to add composer JSONs because that way they could use the libraries, and so it spread quite quickly due to that, just because everyone was kind of an advocate for it.
Because I mean, I suppose before that there was obviously Pair. We're going to boo Pair and stuff like that. And were you kind of out to kind of try and replace Pair, or because that's kind of what's happened now, hasn't it? Really, it's kind of the replacement for Pair. I don't know whether you kind of thought that when you were making it, and again, it's because you're thinking a Symfony problem.
If you look at packages, there's an interesting thing. Like the first version, I'm not sure if there are actually commits of that or if it was just living on my computer. But
you might just do this init commit. That's what, yeah.
But like if you check on the Wayback Machine for the first versions of packages that got snapshot, like the way I started it at first was just kind of to troll the Pair guys a little bit, but it was kind of
in a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, trying to stuff up and bring something new, but you're basically doing it was a proxy repository, so you could list all the repositories, all the repos, and then you just add that one, and it would let you install any package. So I don't actually remember, but for installing PHP Unit, you used to have to do add the PHP Unit repo and then add the Symfony repo because it depends on the YAML package of Symfony. And then you could install PHP Unit and it would find the other one. So I with this, I had all the repos indexed, and you could just add one repo and you had access to the entire Pair ecosystem of not just the Pair repo, but all of them. And so, yeah, I started playing around with that, and then I figured, okay, I have this thing now, and then we started working on Composer, and I thought, okay, let's just bring it together and drop the pair aspect and like just build a new like central repo for everything, but in an open way.
And was that your aim at the whole thing, was to make it open? Like when you were building it, I suppose, were you building it in your day job, I suppose, for your company at the time, and then you were just like, I'm going to open it?
No, that's actually when I started on that was just when I quit my job, and so I had a lot of free time.
A lot of time, yeah. You find out how much time you actually have, don't you?
Yeah. But so yeah, the fact that it's open, I think that was a critical point to me. There was something I really didn't like about Bear, was that you had this, this committee of smart people that review the package and go like, oh yeah, no, this one is not. And I mean, obviously it's a good thing, but I think now we have the same effect with like the league or some like Aura, or you have like those communities sort of self-organized, and you have like brand names.
That's exactly it. Yeah, like the packages, you have the fact of how many installs has it had, how popular is it, and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's self-rating, self-ranking, and self kind of supported. Yeah,
so I think that worked out fairly well. Like it's a bit of a mess if you compare it to Pair. Obviously, it's less organized. Like you don't have just one of every type of library. So it's a bit overwhelming sometimes.
Just look at NPM though. I mean, that's the
that's the thing.
And was that the idea with packages, was to kind of look what the others have done and bring it to the PHP world? Because I suppose you're saying you did a lot of JavaScript as well. Like, were you playing around a lot with Node at the time and NPM?
No, I wasn't doing Node a lot. Well, I never did Node a lot. I did like a lot of JavaScript, but not Node very much. More like front-end stuff. But yeah, I looked at Node, at NPM rather, just because it was new and it was JSON, and that made sense, to me at least. Some people are still not happy about that, but...
So what do people actually want then? Are they're looking for XML or YAML, or...?
Mostly YAML, I guess, but it's...
I think JSON's... Yeah, I think YAML's far harder to kind of... and confusing, and it's like Python with significant white space, and... that gets a pain in the arse.
That's the thing. Like, there are problems to everything, and like today I would probably do it with TOML. I don't know if you've seen TOML.
TOML? No, what's that?
TOML, like TOML. It's from Tom. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Tom Preston Weiner, the guy from GitHub.
Yeah. And it's like INI, but
yeah, it does look very similar to INI.
More features. It's like the same simple syntax, but a bit more features so that you can actually express more things, like arrays and stuff. But then there's no nonsense, like, if you look at XML or YAML, you have, like, the specs are extremely complex. There are many things that people don't even know about in there. You end up with, like, security vulnerabilities, or, like, lots of bad stuff happened. So that's more like a pure configuration language.
And I'm guessing trying to port that, there's no chance of being able to do that now because of the fact that, it's... I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of set in stone now. Your decision to do a composer.json file is now the way.
Kinda. Like, it would just break a lot of stuff, so...
And I suppose that's another question then. So, you didn't expect it to become so big, but what was the hardest part of building Composer?
Maybe, if you look at it from... the hardest part, not maybe of building the software itself, but like building the software for the size of the community. I think the hardest part was like cross-platform support and managing to like iron out all those little bugs that
that must have been
appear on this machine.
Appear on Windows. It's just like, Windows has done this. You're like,
but it's not just Windows, because the thing is I develop on Windows, so usually it works quite well on Windows. But it's more like someone has a CentOS 4 or 5 or something that's not been updated in 10 years, and it's been, it's a self-compiled PHP with this random flag that just creates this bug, and
it isn't actually something to do with Composer, it's something to do with PHP entirely, like their configuration of it.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. But they blame you because obviously your thing's the one that's
obviously, still need to fix it or like find a workaround or, something, like in the worst case document it. But the point is, at this point it's such an essential tool that you can't just tell people like, sorry, you can't run it. Well, not my problem.
And that's it. Like, how much debugging does it take? Like, because I suppose, because I mean, as it's a computer, it's an open source project. So do you get a lot of input from other people that help, or are you kind of the mainstay that, I'm going to be the one, up all night trying to debug this in a VM, trying to, compile CentOS 4 with this?
I never did that. I will work with people and try to guess at what's wrong and get them a debug build or something if needed. But I'm not setting up VM CentOS. That's crossing the line for me.
Yeah. It's like, I care, but not that much. It's like, I care, but I can't care that much because there's too many people. Because for me, I'd feel like the hardest part of building Composer, but I suppose it didn't really happen at the time. And you got like the semantic versioning was probably the dependency graph.
Yeah, that's the main part that I didn't do.
Oh well, I don't blame you because that just seems crazy.
So yes, it's definitely complex, and we had like some interesting times with that for sure.
And you also last year some interesting garbage collection not issues, but kind of discussion that kind of it literally went around the whole of the PHP world. Yeah, just disable the garbage collector; it makes things quicker. It's like, really? Yeah, is that what we're getting out of this? Are we really getting that out of this? Like,
yeah, that's just like herd effects. So, like, I don't know how you call that, but just like a lot of people.
Well, it's exactly, and they're like,
think,
yeah. That's it. I mean, because Anthony Ferrara, he posted a really good blog post on it, didn't he? Like, he knocked it out of the water, talking about how the garbage collectors like reference counted, and then this is because of cycler references, and that's why. And it's just like crazy and awesome. And like, did you get yourself? Because like, I suppose, as you say, you didn't write that bit, but I suppose you maintain that bit now because, or do you have other people that help maintain that side of it, the dependency part?
Well, so Niels is still there, kind of sometimes. So he's the one that like wrote all that code, and I mean, the good thing is this thing is just an algorithm, right? Like, it's fairly stable once it runs, and so there are like not so many times where we actually need to change this. Yeah.
Have people ever said, why don't we write this in C to make it quicker, in quotes, or something? Like, has there ever been like a thought of making it into like going down a level into C and writing it there? Or does it work really well being on top in the PHP user land?
Well, so I mean, there's a whole bunch of things which are like network slowness, right? And that you can't really make it faster by going to C. So then the main thing is the solver.
Yeah.
Like the dependency solving thing, that's a lot of math and just like number crunching. So yes, that actually, if you run it with HHVM, for example, you'll see that it's a lot faster on the solving part because it's just a fairly tight loop iterating for like millions of times.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, it might make sense. Just who wants to do it? And then, yeah, we'll see. Like, maybe we still find a few ways to improve. I mean, we got a pull request that we merged, I think, yesterday or the day before. It's just we had to revert it because there was a little bug. But
you're like, go back.
Yeah, but like that actually brought some memory improvements and like a bit of runtime as well. So, there are little things we can get like here and there.
And with Composer, like, because obviously it's used everywhere and people are updating. I mean, probably people aren't updating it as much as they should be, but, like, what kind of strict kind of, when I make a release kind of things do you go through? Like, what testing do you do? Is it all automated, or do you do some manual testing still to make sure?
No, it's all like just the test suite, and if it passes the test suite, I mean, it just goes to the build, and then if someone runs a self-update, they get the latest from master. And some people don't like it because it feels dangerous. But the very good side to it is that we get a very, very tight feedback loop. So if we break something,
we know it instantly, pretty much.
Fairly immediately. And that's, I find this invaluable because yes, it's gonna mess with one person's day maybe, a little bit, but then like, we can, at least we're still kind of in focus, like in your mind, you get a bug report, you know what you're just working on. So you can go back to that, like that code's
still hot in your mind.
What the problem is. exactly. So it brings like the fixes can be done way faster. And in the worst case is if I see like, okay, it's, I don't identify the problem that then I'll just revert and debug with the former version. But yeah, I think overall it gives us a fairly high quality on the master is always stable, because if it's not, people complain. So it's
and like so versioning wise on it, do you just like prefer keeping it with just Git commit hashes?
Well, there are some releases sometimes, just not enough of them, I know, but yeah, it's, to be honest, I think it's good if everyone just uses the latest. But it's, yeah, sometimes people have like older builds and then they, like I had someone complain earlier about, well, not complain, but he was just like asking what's up with this current operator, which, started failing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's just because you have an old...
yeah, self-update, self-update, just do that and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, we did that in December, right? So it's, at this point, it's like 6 months old. It's just, it sucks, but you gotta update at some point, like.
No, that's really cool, man. And like, I suppose, it's like, I'm wondering, what is the roadmap looking for Composer? Like, have you got any, like, kind of, I mean, at the time, all I could feel that you're having to do is just trying to weather the storm of it, kind of like, everyone's using it and you're like,
yep.
Crap, and you're just like, oh man, like, I don't know how it would feel to kind of have a project that gets this mainstream. And then it's like, you feel, I mean, do you feel pressure? Because I would, I guess, like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's for sure tons of, I mean, it depends on the people, I guess, but for me, yeah, there's a lot of pressure, just of like feeling responsible for the project, because you put it out there, and when it breaks for people, it's, it fucks with their day. And I mean, I do feel bad if someone can't get stuff done because it's somehow broken, but it's not always possible to be there. So yeah, like, let's say until a year ago, there was a lot of pressure. Then I kind of bailed last year, like last summer, because I was like, I couldn't take it anymore.
Just burn out of it all.
For a month, I kind of didn't take care much of the whole thing.
That must have been great, though. I mean, it must have been scary to think I'm going to have to go back to it, but it must have been great to kind of not have to look at freaking
yeah, at the time
it
was nice.
Yeah, at the time, and then it was hell the month after. You're like, oh man.
Yeah.
And I suppose this is when it goes to, would you ever want to, like, not release control, but kind of like, have you started delegating and allowing yourself some time to have, I mean, to explore other things and do other things?
Yeah, sometimes I wish I could, but at the same time, well, I don't feel like there's anyone willing to do it. Plus, one catch to that is maybe it's my fault because I'm a console freak. I'm not sure. Like, it's very hard to tell if people are not interested because reason X or Y, or they're just not interested because I am too controlling, or I don't know.
You're like, am I going to take this personally, or?
Well, it's just, I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I just don't have an answer. Like, it's so difficult.
But I mean, at the moment, like the way it works, do you like kind of delegate some time to Composer? Because I mean, like Taylor Otwell for Laravel, I mean, when he was working, he kind of had like Fridays off paid to do open source stuff, and then now he's just working on Laravel fully. Would you? I mean, like, I know that you've got the Toran Proxy project. Is that helping fund time to actually do open source stuff?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the goals of launching this last year was to try and get some sort of sustainable funding for open source, because at the moment, as I mentioned, like, I'm working for this startup, and that's, kind of part-time job, and that is the builds, and then the rest of the time is just a bit of a mess of like this Toran Proxy stuff a little bit, and open source, and like conferences and whatnot. Like, it's a bit hectic, but
do you enjoy it?
Somehow it works. At the moment, it's like, yeah, I think like for now it's quite fun. Like, it's
and do you work remote for the company?
Sort of a balance. Yeah.
And how do you find working remote? Like, is this the first time you've worked remote in your life, or have you done it in the past?
Yes, like let's say for a long time, yes, the first time. Like I did sometimes, the odd day from home, but extended periods like that, yeah, that's the first time, and it was a bit weird, but I'm kind of getting used to it. like the whole routine.
Like how do you do it? Like, do you have like check-ins in the morning, or is it kind of like you work the hours you want to work and you have like a Kanban style?
Yeah,
online?
it's very flexible. So it's we're there when we're there. We use Slack at the moment for communication mostly, and Trello board for the like sort of Kanban thing.
That's it, yeah. And like, do you pair programming and stuff, like remote programming, like using Screen Hero or?
Not a lot, no. Like it's more for specific things. Like if something, I have something coming up right now where I probably have to pair up with someone like to get a clear idea, and it's just sometimes easier to talk while looking at the code, but we don't do a whole lot of it.
And then, because like other projects that you kind of, everyone knows you for Compose and Packagist, and actually, sorry, for the audience, before I do move on from that, like, what is the Toran Proxy? Because some people may not know.
Yeah, sure. I can do a little sales pitch session. Although I'm quite bad at that, I think. But so in short, it's proxy, as the name says, that sits between you and GitHub and you and Packagist. So you install it somewhere on a server, and it will take all the traffic and cache stuff, but not only like zip files, but also Git repos. So you can the end goal of that was getting sort of independence from GitHub. So if they're down, you can still install even like from Git clones and so on. That brings a side effect, which is speed, because downloading from your server, which has dedicated bandwidth to you, is a lot faster than GitHub servers usually. And the other side of it is that it's also a repository for like private packages. So if you have in-house stuff that you don't want to open up on Packagist, you can just add it there and like use like Composer packages that are private.
And like, what made you think about making this then? Was this like a product that you kind of thought of like, it'd be great to have more time for Composer, this is a problem that people are having, I'll solve it, and then people?
Yeah, that was mostly the thing. Like it's something people were asking for, and we had a solution that's like open source but not very advanced, and it doesn't do the whole like Git repo cloning and so on. So it was kind of minimalistic. So I thought, okay, I could build something that's better than that. Has a whole UI and so on. So it's a bit more friendly feel to it. And like since Obviously, I can't like sell access to Packagist or something. It's just, this needs to be free because it's the open source ecosystem, and I would get hunted down in the street, I think.
Yeah, you would not be heard of again, would you? You would not be heard of again.
So I was thinking about that and like how to kind of get funding for the whole open source thing. Because donations typically don't work very well, or at least like not in a very sustainable way.
Yeah, because how have you found it? Like, have big companies helped, like come and said, look, we use this, come like do a talk for us and we'll pay you obviously to do the talks, like, come in and help teach stuff, or?
Not really. So it's been like 4 years now we worked on this. I had one gig that was actual like Composer related consulting. So yeah, it's not quite the typical thing. So it's not possible to live off that, or like of support and training and stuff. There's just it's in a way it's too simple a tool to justify this, I think.
Well, I think you've made it too simple, haven't you? That's the problem.
Yeah,
this is the problem. You should have added like some crazy stuff.
That's some crazy math puzzles. Anytime you want to pull in a package, like solve this math puzzle.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like down the line, I ended up like figuring, okay, like building this Toran Proxy, it gives me a way to bring like hopefully added value to businesses, and so businesses have money and they're usually ready to pay for stuff that bring them value. So
well, they should be as well because they get it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
No, but I mean, like the whole Toran Proxy, they
Yeah, oh no, I mean, yeah, like
you pay for the
Composer
for
free, and then
free,
that's it, and I mean, because that's the thing, because Packagist is heavily dependent on like GitHub and things like this, and if they do go down, this is helping solve the problem of you see like if GitHub goes down, everyone's complaining like, oh no, I can't Composer install, I can't do my build because I can't pull down the dependencies. This solves it for you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just great. Another project that you work on is Monolog. And it was interesting because in your 20 years, and 9 days blog post, you speak about that you made Monolog because of having to clone down the whole Zen framework just to get a couple of classes. And, that's another project that's just kind of become, standardized as like, oh yeah, this is what you use. You've got Composer for your dependency management, you use Monolog for your login now. Again, was that something you thought was going to happen, or did it just happen because it was with Symfony?
I guess it, like, being integrated in Symfony helped a lot. And then with the whole PSR3, it standardized it even a bit more. And so, like, other frameworks sort of integrated it as a PSR3 thing, not directly as Monolog.
And it's another project that's become, I mean, do you find that you have more kind of, you have to spend more time on Composer than you do Monolog?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's Monolog down the line, it's very simple, it's like there's a couple of classes with real logic, and then the rest is just a bunch of adapters to send the data to this or that. So it's very little maintenance.
And I suppose, like, I'd say, like, what do you get up to any, like, different languages and programming languages in your own time, but kind of, I guess, your own time, lack of, if you ever have it, it's probably away from the computer, but it's mainly probably with packages, Composer and Monolog, because, like, I think it was last week, actually, you released the new design of Packages, and it looks awesome. I love it, man, like, really good design. And, and like, I mean, how did that go? Was that, like, kind of an easy transition, or did that take quite a while for you to kind of get ready, get set up, and actually ship?
So that was, like, I think 2 years ago, and I'm a bit ashamed of that. But
well, sometimes projects take time,
Yeah, no, it's like 2 years ago, someone sent a pull request with initial redesign. That was kind of like laying out, this, like, the top bar and whatever, and he did the profile page and so on. But then I had, like, grand ideas in my head about what I wanted the design to be.
And this is when you make the feature,
so like,
you make the feature list so big, and you're just like, this is going to take too long now,
Yeah, and so I was, like, not too, plus, like, priorities and so on. The design is not really a priority in a way. Like, yes, it wasn't very pretty, but
it did its job. It works.
It's not functionally it worked.
You'd rather have Composer work than having a pretty
exactly.
design.
So it took me a while to get to it, but like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I finally, like, I don't know why exactly, but I was bored on a Sunday, and I decided to take a look. And so I took a look at it, and I mean, then at that point I realized it was actually not quite finished. Like, the whole package page there was no CSS at all. So maybe a few days of smashing things together, and my girlfriend helped quite a lot as well, because she's into, like, design school and so on. So she has a good eye for, like, pixels that are not aligned and stuff. So
my last question, again, thank you so much for coming on, man. I know it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night and we're talking on a podcast. What feature would you most like to see in PHP? Excluding the stuff that's actually already in 7, like, what would you like to see? What's like the pressing thing for you?
So I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in 7. I'm really happy with that. But, like, pushing onwards from that, what I would like is maybe a bit more of the typing stuff. Like, if I look at Hack and other languages like Rust, that's the one thing that I think they have that PHP misses, is, like, sort of complex type definitions. So there are many aspects to that, and, like, Hack doesn't support everything, I guess, but they support quite a lot. And I think it would be quite nice for just, like, the sort of strictness in many ways, which I don't think is needed everywhere, but in some places having fairly strict type hints can help. So be good. Apart from that, I don't know. I've been using it for so long. I'm kind of happy with it.
Thank you so much, Jordi, for coming on, man. It's been really, really cool having you on and talking to you about
no
this
worries.
stuff.
It was fun.
And I mean, like, it'd be great to have you on again sometime if ever you want to come on. And
we love you all.
We love you all. Yes, indeed. Bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.